We are live. Hello, Larry Cohn.
Hey Jim, how's it going?
Yeah, man, it's going good now that you're here. Like quite literally, now that you're here, because for a minute we weren't sure.
That's what people tell me.
I am just messing up this whole live broadcast here. Let me just remove that. There we go. Can you hear me okay, Larry?
I can, yes.
Larry, you've got to turn your audio down, or is that me?
I don't know.
Oh no, it was me. I did it. Goodness gracious. Well, Larry, first of all, I get to see you every day, but for a lot of people that are watching this, this is maybe the first time that they've seen you or heard from you in quite a while. And you've been on a wild ride. And I kind of put some things together that I wanted to show to everyone. And, for me, I think this is the first time that you're actually seeing some of these things, unless I'm mistaken.
It is.
Can I give like a pictorial version of where we are? Let me see if I can pull this up. So I don't know what I'm even showing here. There we go. All right. So this was, let me put this solo on the screen here. So this was us when we were on the way to New York City. The next picture, let me make sure I do this right. Nope. Let me go backwards. So this is ground zero. It was kind of a cool day. That was my first time in New York. We had really no idea what we were heading towards. There's the Statue of Liberty. There's you on the plane looking dapper and chill and ready for taking on the adventures.
Yeah, we're going to Budapest.
Yeah, we left New York and we went to Budapest. Man, I love that picture. That was the view from our hotel room. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, yes.
All right. We're going to start getting into some areas where maybe you don't remember. And so this was our hotel room the very next day. Those are the paramedics coming in and checking on you. What happened was you got up, you tried to get out of bed, and you collapsed. So do you want to kind of share with people what you were feeling as that was happening, or do you even remember?
No, I do. Well, I mean, shortly after I got off the plane, I started feeling tingling in my legs. That night, we walked around Budapest, and I thought maybe I could, work it out of my system. And then my legs were just getting weaker and weaker. And the next morning, I remember barely making it to the bathroom and then collapsing in the bathroom and breaking a bunch of glasses as I fell to the floor. And then that's the last of any specific recollection.
So yeah, you were taken to the hospital in Budapest. Here's a picture of you in the hospital. And this was as things begin to change. I don't even think you were really all that keenly aware of what was going on. And I want to play this video for everybody. And I think this is the first time that you're hearing it or even seeing it. So let me put this on real quick.
Terrible.
So you never know what's going to happen. We came to Budapest, and Larry was fine. He walked off the plane. Now, how you feeling? I think I started it over a couple times. I apologize, but it'll catch up here in a second.
It's given me a lot of insight into life. When I get better, insight, or when I see people have problems into life, they can still walk, and they can talk, and they can move their body on their own. And it's so When I get back to just appreciate that.
Or is that playing on your screen, or is it locking up?
Locking up. So you're lucky.
All right, let's give it just a second here. Let it do its thing. Give me just a second here. All right, let's try it now.
Always full of insight. So Larry can't move his hands or his legs. He can't walk. It's got a rare condition. It just developed, and it set. And the onset was what, 24 hours, roughly.
Yes.
And now he's in a Hungarian hospital. So it's also made me appreciate the medical facilities that we have in the United States. It's pretty amazing. So signing off for now. The adventures continue. He's going to be fine. Hands or his legs, he can't walk. It's got a rare condition. It just developed, and it set. And the onset was what, 24 hours, roughly.
Yes.
And now he's in a Hungarian hospital. So it's also made me appreciate the medical facilities.
Goodness gracious. Technical difficulties. Let me pull that out. I'm going to switch back to you for just a second while we try and give this a chance to catch up. So Larry, do you remember any of that? Any of the things that you were feeling or the things that you said?
I do. So I think at that point, I don't really know what state or stage of the paralysis I was in. I mean, I know I couldn't walk or use my legs, but I don't know if I had full body paralysis at that point or not. But here's the message that I was trying to get across is as I lay there at some level of full paralysis, I remember seeing nurses and other people walking around and talking. And I just remember thinking, they're probably not even giving thanks for the fact that they can walk. They're just going about whatever it is in their daily life, dealing with whatever's coming forth for them, but not thinking it's just, I feel so blessed that I can walk. And I remember looking at them, not knowing if I would ever be able to walk again. And I remember the paralysis creeping up my body because it started in my feet and moved up. And my voice was weaker and weaker, and I could talk less and less, and didn't know, when I'd lose my voice and be able to not communicate, which eventually did happen. So that's what I was going through at that time, of just really thinking, wow, people aren't even happy that they can walk. Like, forget about what's going on. Just be happy you can walk.
Yeah, and I remember coming in, and it was really emotional because we had no idea what was going on, why you were experiencing what you were experiencing. Just there was a lot of pain too for you. I remember that, and I'm hoping to get these videos going because you shared some things, some insight that was really pretty amazing in the middle of all this. And if you don't know, you don't know. And what you were going through was just, it was crazy that you were even able to articulate the thoughts that you had. So what were the emotions that you were feeling besides obviously being aware of just what was slipping away from you at the time? What happened next? I mean, from a clinical perspective, what happened? What was the diagnosis? And kind of share what you learned.
Yeah, so I do remember calling my sister, who was back in Illinois, and letting her know. I said, listen carefully to me, because I didn't know how long I would have my voice. It was getting weaker and weaker. And also I wasn't able to hold my phone. I was able to only balance it, but I wasn't able to grip anything. And I just remember the fear is what I remember. The fear of not knowing what was happening. I mean, I knew what was happening, and I was becoming fully paralyzed, but not knowing if it was a temporary or permanent state or anything else. And just thinking, like, how could this be happening to me, and why is it happening? And I've always been a person who believes that everything happens for a reason and there's beauty in everything and blah, blah, blah. And and I've had some tough times in my life with homelessness and drug addiction and all sorts of things. So I wasn't adverse to being in uncomfortable and unhappy situations, but never did I lose my body. And that was scary.
So what was the diagnosis officially?
Guillain-Barré syndrome. I had never heard of it before. And I don't even really know what it is, honestly. I mean, I know it's some type of paralysis. I believe it's an autoimmune something. You probably know more because the doctors explained it to you. If they did explain it to me, I don't remember it. And I particularly didn't really even want to learn about it when they told me I had it. I just wanted to. Sometimes the less you know about something, the better it is, because the more you know, the more dire the situation is. So sometimes ignorance is bliss is an effective way to deal with the situation. And that's the way that I chose it. So I don't know a lot about Guillain-Barré syndrome, except that it's powerful. It's really, really unusual. Like, I don't know, a half of a percent of the people have it, something like that. And that's what I knew, But I will tell you this. I did set the intent. Now, I don't know if it was in that particular video or shortly thereafter, but I remember saying to myself, this is another opportunity. So what I mean by that is, this is another opportunity to dig deeper inside myself than I have ever dug before. And honestly, like, I've dug pretty deep in myself when I've been near death, and I've been on the streets, and I've been, searching for that last rock when I wanted another hit of crack, and all sorts of things that I've been through. I've had to figure out how to pull myself out of and go deep within me to figure out how am I going to get myself out of this situation. But never the encompassing physical gravity of paralysis and losing your ability to communicate. But I remember thinking that this is another opportunity. Like, wow, this is going to be another opportunity to go deeper than I've ever had to go. And not many people get these types of opportunities in life. And, most people don't have the ups and downs that I've had. And most people don't ever develop that skill to pull themselves back from a place so deep and dark as where I was. So I just remember thinking that I could think this was horrible, and it was, and I could think this was devastating, and it was, and I could think, why is this happening to me? And I did think that, but I also thought this is an opportunity. And the more I kept focused on the opportunity, the better I felt. So I don't know if you were going to ask me this, Jim, but it's something that I want to share, and it's the reason that I'm doing this Facebook Live, and that is that you hear a lot about we control our own reality or we create our own reality. And a lot of people think, well, that's not true, because if I could create my own reality, I wouldn't be poor, or I wouldn't be in this relationship, or I wouldn't be without a job, or blah, 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 blah. And it's not, that isn't, at least for me, the type of reality that I refer to when I say I control my own reality. I think a better way, or create my own reality, I think a better way of saying it is that I can control how I react to my reality. And even though I cannot change the condition, I can change, and listen to this, I can change the way that I relate to the condition. And once I've related to the condition in a different way, the condition then no longer exists in the original way that it was presented. So the condition was paralysis. The condition was illness. The condition was, all those things that you saw on that video. But horrible conditions. But when I shifted the way that I began to think about the condition, and I shifted the way that I related the condition then softened for me. And even though the condition didn't change, the way I looked at it changed. And as a result, the condition then changed. So we really can't change conditions, but when you learn how to control the way you think about a condition, then everything that ever matters to you has changed, and you become the owner/creator of your reality. And this, as I said, was another opportunity to prove that method, refine that method for me, define that method for me, share that method. And as I said, I just began to think of that as an opportunity.
Yeah, I want to try and cue up this video again real quick because I think it's important to hear. So let me just play this real quick.
You never know what's going to happen. We came to Budapest, and Larry was fine. He walked off the plane, and now Budapest. And Larry was fine. He walked off the plane. Now, how you feeling?
Terrible.
How you feeling? He's say whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
A lot of insight into light. Insight when I get better. Or when I see people have problems. They can still walk, and they can talk, and they can move their body on their own. And it's so important to just appreciate that you are blessed if you can move and talk. So you're lucky.
Always full of insight. So Larry can't move his hands or his legs. He can't walk. He's got a rare condition that just developed, and it set. And the onset was 24 hours, roughly.
Yes.
And now he's in a Hungarian hospital. So it's also made me appreciate the medical.
Goodness gracious, I don't know why it's doing this.
In the United States, it's pretty amazing. So
that's my thought. Did you see that? So that's really the first time you've seen that video, I think, isn't it, Larry?
Yes.
There's another one here. I'm going to try and, you can't deal with live stuff all the time the way that you want to. So I'm going to try and make this device priority so it doesn't go offline here. There we go. I'm going to play the second video. Take a look at this, Larry. Let me back this up to the beginning. So today is, you know what, let me hold that here for just a minute, give it a chance to buffer. I really don't know why the internet is creating so many problems, but actually I do. It's because it's because you're on here. Message from Leslie. I want to put this up on the screen. It says, "Thank you for sharing your story, Larry. This is Leslie. I need this right now. Hope, massive blessings, good health, and prosperity to you both." So very cool. I appreciate you sending that message, Leslie.
So can I just share another few insights and things that
Sure.
I gained? And again, it's the reason that I did this video. First off, I just got to say, thank you to my family. I don't know what I would have done without their support in getting me back to the United States and then supporting me in this journey. It's really taught me a lot about family that I thought I knew but did not know. But what I want to talk about is there's so much in personal development, and I've been doing a lot of personal development the last 20 years, and as I shared some of my ups and downs, but people think that you have to be happy. And when you're in a really bad place, it's hard to be happy. And what makes it worse is if you read personal development, or you're listening to things online and they're talking about how it's important to be happy and et cetera, and you'd only feel worse. In other words, when you're in a bad place and people are telling you just figure out a way to be happy, or I went through something like this a long time ago and I got through it, and so that should give you hope and stuff like this, and you're not happy, it just widens the gap from where you are to where you want to be, which is one of the reasons I always caution people about affirmations. When you say to yourself that, I see myself as wealthy, and you don't know where you're going to have a meal from in the next hour, sometimes that's too big of jump. And what you're really doing is you're highlighting the gap of where you are, which only puts more energy into the negative. So here's one of the things that I learned, that instead of being happy, because it's really hard to be happy a lot of times, just try to be happier. And happier is attainable, because happier is just an improvement from your now condition. So when I was laying there paralyzed and not being able to talk, I was far away from happiness, but I was striving towards becoming happier, meaning that I looked around me and I knew I had quality doctors and nurses working on my behalf. That made me feel happier. I wasn't happy, but it made me feel happier. I was in Budapest, a strange country, and I was there on a business trip, and the two guys that I went to see, they were amazing. I'd never met them before in my life. They didn't owe me anything, like nothing. They were there every day on my behalf, translating for me, bringing me food. Just their physical presence was a huge level of security for me, because I was in a strange land, in a strange language, at a strange hospital. So I wasn't happy, but I was happier seeing them. So it's really attainable and really within everybody's immediate grasp to become happier, not to become happy, but become happier. So that's like number one. I hope that I can teach people the concept of becoming happier, not happy. And what happens is, as long as you become in what I call the vicinity of happiness, you have a chance. And so the stretch to be happy was too big for me, but I was able to often find periods of the day where I could be happier. 95% of the time I wasn't, but a little bit now and then I was happier, and then a little bit more the next day happier, and a little bit more the next day happier, still largely unhappy and still largely miserable, but a little happier now and then, mostly miserable, but a little happier now and then. And after a period of time of incorporating this philosophy, you begin to create momentum. And momentum is another word for law of attraction. And then at some point, I don't know when on the scale of things, but at some point, law of attraction and momentum take over, and you have to struggle less finding the happier moments, and they just kind of begin to more manifest into your life, or become more prevalent in your life. And then after a period of time, the happier becomes happy. But if you're in a bad place, don't try to be happy, just try to become happier at various points of the day. I can't hear
That's a
you.
valuable lesson. Sorry, I couldn't get myself put back on the screen. I think it's a valuable lesson because so many people are disappointed with progress because it isn't the end game, right? The end game is the end game. And so many people want to jump from here to there and can't appreciate what it takes to actually do that. I'm going to try and get this video up, Larry. We should be good now. Give me just a second here. I'm going to play this, and I want you to hear where you were then.
Today is the second day in a row we're documenting. I'm going to turn and let you see Larry. How you feeling, Larry?
Water in lungs. Getting back home. But I will tell you this, that during my 3-hour plasma treatment, which was the most painful treatment I ever had, I birthed some incredible clarity. It was amazing. It was like I have some answers to questions that I've been thinking about, because out of great
Well, I thought it was going to work.
comes some great hope and ideas. I learned a lot about how to deal with pain. It was honestly more than I ever wanted to know. And I think I know why the universe gave me this illness. I will share more later, because of great pain comes great hope and ideas.
I'm going to pause it there for just a second. I don't know what the challenge is, but hey, it's live and we're live, and that sometimes happens. But Larry, do you remember that moment?
I do. So the good news is anytime you're in an extreme situation, it gives birth to clarity. And what I mean by that is, as you go through your daily life, and if it's just quote unquote a normal day, it really doesn't shine the spotlight on clarity. So for example, I'll give you some situations that I think everybody can relate to. When you're cold, you know you want to be warm. So your desire for warmth is really clear when you're cold. When you're hungry, your desire to be fed is very clear than when you're not hungry. When I was broke, my desire for wealth was greater. So it's two ends of the stick. On one end of the stick is the situation that you're in, which is extreme: poor health, broke, hungry, cold, hot, whatever that is. But the other end of the stick is clarity, because when I was sick, I knew more than ever that I wanted good health, that I wanted to be well. When I was broke, I knew more than ever that I wanted to have wealth. When I was hungry, I knew more than ever that I wanted food. So you have to be able to use the power of focus, because both conditions are true and both conditions feel real, but one of them makes you feel a little better. And that is when you focus to the new improved clarity that the situation has given you. So I just began to get really clear about my life through this paralysis and through this illness. And it's kind of funny as I look back from it, because the paralysis obviously paralyzed me, but in the paralyzation and in the stopping still and in the moment of being forced to stand still, I became really clear on what I wanted. And that's, I don't recommend anyone becoming paralyzed to get clear on what they want. But since I was there, I might as well make the best of the worst situation. So I got an opportunity to be really clear about what I wanted in life from that experience. And anytime you have clarity, it feels good. And anytime you have clarity, you have focus. And anytime you have focus, you have purpose. So again, it was one thing led to the next, led to the next, led to the next. And I began my journey, so to speak. So another gift another thing that I learned that I wanted to share with everybody who's watching this. And again, the reason why I'm doing this, so that if you're going through some situation, whatever it is you're going through, I bet it's birthing a clarity in you that is stronger than you've ever had before.
Larry, I've got this video queued up. It's fully buffered now, so it should be good until the very end. Let's finish.
I learned a lot about how to deal with pain. Honestly, more than I ever wanted to know. And I think I know why the universe gave me this illness. I will share more later. I will share more later.
How do you feel hearing that now?
Yeah, it's intense. And like the thought that crossed my mind is I didn't even appreciate then how good I was then, because
Right.
I got worse from there. And in that video, I was able to communicate. And then I don't know if it was a coma or what happened to me, but then, I disappeared from reality is the way that, or from consciousness is the way that I'll describe it. But when I came out of that consciousness, I was no longer able to communicate, which is a whole nother level of emotions and feelings, because I had never been not able to communicate, to tell someone that, I was hot or I was colder. Could you get me a glass of water or something? But I lost use of my voice. I couldn't breathe on my own. I was on a ventilator. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't do anything. Just simple things like wherever you are right now, if you're sitting in a chair and you need to adjust yourself to get more comfortable, you can do that. I couldn't do any of that. And
Hey,
I
Larry.
couldn't tell anyone, hey, could you just move my shoulder an inch over because it's hurting? I wasn't able to have
Let's
any
show
level of
them real quick,
communication,
can
which
we?
was really isolating.
John, Jamie, Andy, thank you for being there for me. This is the scariest time of my life. I love you all. Thank you. Can't wait to be home more than ever.
You remember that?
Pretty much, yeah.
So it was, let me put myself on here real quick. Give me a quick second. So you wanted to record a message to your family, and I don't know if you remember what you said before you recorded it, but you didn't think you were going to make it at that point. You remember that?
No, I don't. I mean, I know there were many points I didn't know if I was going to make it, but no, I don't remember that.
Let's show people just where you were. And I don't think you've seen this video yet, Larry. Take a look.
Can you? Okay. Try and get that off your head.
I'm going to pause and I'll give it a chance to catch up. Sometimes I love technology and sometimes I don't. But you couldn't do the most basic of things, and like you still struggle. So what's your condition today? Share with everybody kind of where you are right now.
So, I mean, thankfully, I have full use of my voice back and all that stuff. And I have full use of my limbs, although limited. It's still like I can't open a bottle of, I'm not very strong, so I can't open, a normal bottle or a Ziploc bag or things like that. I walk with a walker, but I do walk. I have numbness and soreness and weakness, et cetera, but I'm on the road to recovery.
Can't get that
My
off
whole
your
life
head.
is about physical therapy and occupational therapy and, getting in the place where I can bring my body back physically to
Can you?
where it was before.
Okay.
So I'm doing really well. And again, just want to thank so much to my family and friends for supporting me. And it's been, for a lot of people, they may not understand this when I say it, but it's been really a great journey. And the reason I say it's been a great journey because it's my journey, and I could either make it great or I could make it miserable. So why not make it great? I always try to look on the bright side, and this clearly was a challenge of how to look on the bright side, but I did my best, and I tried to set an example for my children, for my grandchildren, that we can't control what happens in life, but you clearly can control how you relate to it. And I just thought this is a great lesson for me to show them and to show other people that are going through something that you can be positive in times of darkness or in times of unknown. And I want to share something else that I learned. So I'm holding up this little can of Sprite. It's empty. I don't know how much it weighs, but as I hold it, it's not very heavy at all. So that's good. So if someone says, how much does this weigh? The answer is going to change by how long I want to keep holding it. So it doesn't weigh much now, but if you were to come back in an hour and still see me holding it, it would weigh heavier. And if you were to come back tomorrow morning and I was still holding it, it would become painful. So the reason I share this with you is a metaphor. It's really not what happens to you, how heavy or deep or serious something is. It's how long you want to hold on to it that makes it that deep or that heavy or that serious. So I chose, to the best of my ability, when I could, to not hold on to the miserable situation I was in and to let go. And the more I let go, the lighter it became. So that's my little Sprite can philosophy that I came up with.
Let's try and play this video one more time, Larry.
Try and
Give
get
it
that
up.
off your head. Can you? Okay.
It's reality. That's where you were.
Yes. Yeah. And something else I want to share too is, you cannot have an unhappy ending to a happy journey. So I just made it all about the now and the moment and the journey that I was in. And I just tried to make that journey a little more pleasant. I didn't want to say things to myself like, I'll feel better when I can walk. I'll feel better when I can talk. I'll feel better when I get through this, because well-intentioned people were coming to me all the time saying, hey, great news. I read about your, illness, and 85% of the people fully recover. So don't worry. And like that, I get where they were coming from, and I'm appreciative of their kindness and well-intentioned thoughts. But things like that didn't make me feel better, because what they said to me is, well, that's great. When I get there, then I'll be happy. But I didn't know, A, if I'll ever get there, because maybe I wouldn't be one of the 85% people. And then does that mean my life is going to be less than? And B, I didn't know how long it was going to take to get there. So I just focused on the journey, and I just focused on the only thing that I had available to me, which was the moment of now, my now reality. All I had available to me was this second of the day, this minute of the day, the time that we were in now. And I figured that if I could figure out how to be happy or happier for right now, then I don't have to worry about the destination, because you can't be happy, and then unhappy at the end because you didn't get there, because I never was able to walk again. So I just figured, why not just try to become as happy as I could be now and not worry about the ending, because you cannot have an unhappy ending to a happy journey.
That is you in a nutshell, Larry. Let's
So
I don't know how this video is going to go. It looks like it's almost buffered, but let me kind of set it up if I can for just a minute. I'm going to pull myself back on the screen here. Where'd I go? There I am. Okay. So I would come to the hospital each day. They would only allow us to be in for 2 hours a day from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Budapest time, which is 7 hours ahead of back home for us. So I was trying to communicate. I spent a lot of time talking with your sister and your brother-in-law and your brother on the phone, and occasionally your mom, but just updating them on where you were and what was going on. And I'll never forget the day that I came in to the hospital and walked into the room that you had been in the day before, and you were gone. There was literally someone else in the bed, and it was a panic feeling because here we're in a foreign country. Almost no one spoke English. So I was like, where did he go? And it took them a long time to figure out even what I was saying. And then I was brought into a room, and then I'm going to play this because this is what I became aware of, and we'll play half of it now and the other half in just a second. So take a look.
So update for everybody. Larry has been moved to intensive care. He could not breathe on his own. He doesn't really know how he got here, but he's in good spirits. I'm going to switch it over to him so he can say-ish to say. So here's Larry in a Hungarian hospital.
So here's Larry in a Hungarian hospital.
You see me? All right. He's being strong, as strong as he can.
Right. Larry, do you remember that moment?
I don't know.
Okay, I didn't think that you did. So I still don't know quite exactly what happened, but what I do know is that sometime in the middle of the night prior to that, Larry crashed. He stopped breathing. They had to do some emergency things. I still don't really understand what they had to do. But like, he crashed. He almost died. Maybe did die. Maybe they brought him back. I don't even know what they did. But I know that he was really, really, really sick. And when I came into the room, he couldn't communicate. He had lost almost complete use of his arms and his legs and was like paralyzed. So just trying to write or communicate. We got this little, it was like a piece of paper with letters on it, and he would like lunge at a letter to try and make it out so he could spell things. I want you guys to take a look at the rest of this video.
He's being strong, as strong as he can be. Love. He loves everybody. And he's going to get better. And he's going to get better.
You remember that? No.
I mean, not that particular moment, but I remember being hooked up to all sorts of stuff and not communicating. And again, like the things that you hold on to at that time, first of all, like, you know, thank you, Jim. You never left my side, and, you know, you were amazing. And I can't tell you what it meant to me, because I'm in a foreign country, a foreign place. You were the only connection that I had. And I just remember thinking, like, every time I saw you, I was like so happy, like happier than like a little kid on Christmas morning. And so I know I've expressed that to you, but I just want to publicly express my true appreciation for you. And the things that you hold on to, I just remember thinking of my grandchildren and their faces and how this can't be the last time that I would think of them, or I can't imagine that the last time I saw them was going to be the last time. And my children, my daughters, and it was images like that kept me moving forward, and that I felt really nourished my soul and gave me my spirit hope and things like that. So no, I don't remember that particular time, but I do remember even after that, things getting worse, because I'm pretty sure that video was the beginning of weeks and weeks of when I went into, no communication, no ability to really do anything. And it was worse every day that I got more there.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up here in just a second, Larry. There was a lot of photos that we took attempting to document what was going on. And one of the videos, for some reason, just won't upload. But go figure, right?
Yeah.
But it was you trying to sign a release. But take a look at. Let me see if I can get this pulled up here. So this should, I think this will kind of walk us through everything. So again, this is what we were showing you in the beginning. So these are the videos as you begin to progress, unfortunately, downhill. And it was kind of a rapid decline. Let me pull this up here, get these on the screen. So let me back up here. So this was when I came into the room and you had been intubated. That was kind of the end of that video. This is where these photos pick up. So they have a big basilica in Budapest, beautiful Catholic church. And so I took a bus. It was kind of a cool thing. I put several pictures out on Facebook, but I took the bus to this church, and in this there were dozens and dozens of people in here, but we were able to light a candle, and a couple people gathered around when we were there, and they asked why I was there. There was a priest there that spoke a little bit of English and kind of shared who you were and what was going on, and they said a prayer for you. But just trying to figure out where we were and what was going on. This was the Statue of Liberty. I didn't know there was a second Statue of Liberty in the world, but there happens to be one in Hungary, which I found really amazing, because we were there when we were finally able to get you moving towards home. This was the plane that you were in. Again, I don't know if you've seen these pictures, but
No, I never have.
Unconscious completely. There was a phenomenal staff there. The medical evacuation team was amazing. That's a couple of them right there. This plane looks pretty small, but it was, 10 times the size of the plane that we ended up on just shortly after that. That's the little plane that we ended up in next. But we landed in St. John, Canada, and it was the first snow of the season in Canada, and it was really coming down. I know it's hard to see, but there were these experiences. We landed in Dublin, Ireland, or nearby, and in Canada, and you were there, but you were they kept you sedated. They were injecting large doses of fentanyl, which I didn't even know they injected. I thought it was like an illegal drug, but they were trying to keep you sedated. And every 15 minutes, almost like clockwork, you would wake up and you didn't know where you were. I'm assuming you remember none of this.
I have a couple of images from the plane ride, just like one or two.
Well, here's another one.
No.
It was really amazing, but nothing like when we finally landed. This is Chicago. and we were in Chicago and finally able to get you off of that plane and into the ambulance. So this was us on the way to Northwestern Hospital. I'm going to switch this back here. So this is when we finally arrived at Northwestern, and you know, the care that you got was amazing. The group of professionals there were just incredible. But there was a lot of confusion in the translation of your medical records. They didn't know how many times you had had the plasmapheresis. They didn't know what was going on. Do you remember when we finally landed and when we finally got into Chicago? Any of this?
No, I don't.
You were heavily sedated. They ended up, they took, again, really good care of you, but the line that was in your neck, the IV line was, I don't want to say archaic. That's not the right word, but it wasn't to the standards of what level of treatment you would have gotten in a U.S. hospital. So if you would, just for a minute, talk about the level of care, because there's not many people that can have the level of gratitude about how our medicine and medical system works in this country like you can.
I mean, yes, I had great care at Northwestern Hospital in Chicago. And I remember, I don't know if it was the first night I was there or the second night or the fourth night, but I remember a very, very kind nurse who just stayed with me and adjusted my shoulder or my arm or my head till I could get to a comfortable place, because I was so often uncomfortable but wasn't able to tell anyone that I was uncomfortable. The picture that's on the screen now is several weeks later, because I didn't have the breathing tube in my mouth, so I was able to communicate at that time. But I was on the ventilator for, I think, at least 3 weeks and not able to let anyone know, my level of comfort. So I was really grateful for the kindness and patience of several of the healthcare workers at Northwestern. That's my mom on the left and my brother on the right.
Yeah, so they were there.
And my brother, his name is
That's her
Andy.
feeding
He used to play what we called the alphabet game, and I would do my best to point at a letter and another letter and another letter until, I could get a sentence out. But, it was hard because the energy of just even pointing at something was pretty overwhelming. So I didn't have a lot of energy to even do the alphabet game. I think that was one of my first meals that I had, because they put a feeding tube in, and I don't know, I was a mess, but I do remember that.
You were an absolute mess. So you're, I'm going to take these off of the screen, but that's at the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab.
Oh, okay.
So just kind of fast forwarding to where you were. So you went through
I went from Northwestern Hospital to an inpatient rehab center where I was there for, I think, 6 weeks. And then from there, I went to assisted living where I did outpatient rehab. And then from there, I finally made it back home to St. Louis. And I was never so happy to see the Arch and to see my friends and to see St. Louis as I was that time. It was just so incredible to be back home. At that point, I left St. Louis on October 24th, and I didn't get back till the 1st of last month. So I was gone, 3 months I had been in hospitals.
That's just, it's amazing what you went through. What you didn't share, and I don't even know if you know this, but I remember having a conversation with Jamie, your sister, on the phone, and they had put the tube down your throat, and they said that you only can have that tube for a period of time. So you were literally a day away from having to get a tracheotomy.
Yeah.
Because they had to pull the tube out. And like, there was that. And then there was the feeding tube that they had to put in because they didn't believe that you could process food on your own, but you never actually used the feeding tube. So they put it in, and I remember you said, I'm not gonna need it. And a couple of days later, you were eating food on your own. They never actually used the feeding tube. So, I mean, I know there were a lot of victories in this, and I know there were a lot of defeats and challenges, but talk about that, if you could, for just a minute. What was your thought there?
Well, I don't know. Shout out to my brother Andy, who smuggled food in for me when they told me I couldn't have food.
Andy's in so much trouble from your mother right
now. That's
funny.
It was.
Yeah. Oh, those were that was the rope licorice. Those
the licorice and the candy, everything. It was, I don't know. This is just me. I don't care what the doctors say you should or shouldn't have. You got to be able to enjoy life. And that licorice and those donuts he brought me and that cheeseburger were phenomenal. Some of the best meals I ever had. So thank you, Andy.
That's funny. All right. Well, we're getting close to time, and I want to give you a chance to share with whomever, whatever you want to share. You went through just an incredible series of emotions. It was emotional for everybody involved. So I just want to say, first and foremost, man, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you, Jim. And I'm glad you were there for me.
Oh, thank you. You made a promise to yourself. And I remember this before you would agree to come home. Do you know what I'm talking about? We didn't rehearse any of this, so this is all kind of off the cuff, but you said, I'm not going to be in a wheelchair when I come back to St. Louis.
I did say
and
that.
The doctors pretty much said, yeah, you will. And you said,
right.
No, I won't. And they said, yeah, you will. And then what happened, Larry?
Well, I wasn't in a wheelchair.
You walked.
I walked, right.
Yep.
And that's what I said I was going to do. So again, anytime you're in a bad situation, it gives birth to clarity. And I'm grateful that I was able to take advantage of the opportunity that this gave me. And as I said at the start of this call, when I first was sick and I first had the paralysis, I said to myself, within hours, I think, of having, I said to myself, this is another opportunity. And that's how I'm going to look at it. It's another opportunity. So I just want to thank everybody in my life that helped me get through this. My daughters, my mom, my sister, my brothers, my brother-in-law, you, Jim. I was in Budapest and I looked up and there was my friend Twin. He has not traveled much in his life, 28 years old, never been out of the country. And he's in Budapest, flying there to make sure, I'm okay. So there were so many wonderful things that happened from this so-called negative experience. So in closing, I just want to encourage people, never be too quick to judge an experience for what it looks like. And clearly this looked like it was horrible, and I don't want to go through it again. So I hope I never have it. But I feel if you just allow yourself to be open and allow the light to shine in and allow the goodness to come in, you'll embrace it. So keep everything as an opportunity that you're going through, and it is what you make of it. So here's wishing you the best. Again, as always, if anyone is inspired by this or wants to reach out with me, we do have a Facebook site or a website, a newsletter. Jim, you can give all those details, but you can find me on here. I'd love to be able to talk with anyone, share more insights or questions, or maybe help you or a friend or family member that's on a journey like this. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, so I'm going to put that on the screen. For those of you that want to reach out to Larry, he's available, Larry at thejimandlarryteam.com, Larry at thejimandlarryteam.com. I encourage you guys all to reach out to him. Subscribe to our newsletter. There's going to be a lot more to come from this. Like Larry said, with every negative thing that happens in your life, there's an opportunity to allow it to remain negative or to turn it positive. And never has there been someone that could spin things quite like Sir Lawrence Cohn.
Hey, Jim, is your mom or dad watching?
I don't know. They would have commented 35 times by now if they were.
Okay.
My mom's our biggest fan. So I don't know if they are or not.
Well, I wanted to say thanks for having a great son who is a great friend to me. So if you're Jim's mom or dad.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I just want to say again, Larry, we're so glad you're here. We're excited to continue this journey with you. And as we always say, the adventures continue.
Yes.